In the boundless steppes of Kazakhstan, where the wind gently ripples through waves of golden grasses, lived a Pallas's cat named Baikal. His dense fur provided reliable protection from the cold, while his large round eyes gave him an edge when hunting small rodents. He wasn't among the large predators, but he possessed a courageous spirit, tempered by the harsh wilderness of his native land. Nearby lay a small village. There, in a house on the outskirts, lived Grandmother Aigul, a woman with a radiant gaze and a warm, melodious voice. Her garden was filled with apple and cherry trees, which in spring would be enveloped in clouds of white and pink blossoms, and in autumn would groan under the weight of ripe fruit. Grandmother Aigul was known for her kindness and extensive knowledge of the local fauna. She saw a small miracle in every creature and taught her grandchildren to cherish the nature that the Kazakh steppes bestowed upon people. One winter day, when a blizzard had buried the roads and the wind chilled even one's breath, Grandmother Aigul heard a faint squeak from behind her house. Peering outside, she discovered a wounded Pallas's cat in the snow. His fur was matted with blood, and his movements betrayed utter exhaustion. The animal's gaze, usually cautious and distrustful, now seemed to plead for help. Grandmother Aigul couldn't simply walk by. Gently cradling the manul, she brought him inside and settled him near the stove to warm up. She cleaned his wounds with warm water and a healing herbal decoction, applied bandages, and offered him warm goat's milk to drink. In the first few days, Baikal, as Grandmother Aigul named him, was startled by every sound, desperately trying to hide in the shadows of the room. But gradually, he realized there was no danger here. Grandmother Aigul spoke to him softly, changed his bandages and the food in his bowl, slowly earning his trust. Winter in those parts was long and unforgiving, yet, by the warmth of the stove and under Grandmother Aigul's care, the manul began to recover. The helplessness faded from his eyes, and with each passing day, he took more confident steps around the room. Sometimes, Grandmother Aigul would sit by the window and tell Baikal stories of her youth, of how she learned to herd sheep and had often seen wild animals in the steppes: lynx, foxes, corsacks, and even wolves. "The steppe is a vast, living world," she would say, "where every creature has its place, and all deserve respect." As Baikal lay nearby, listening to her voice, a sense of quiet understanding grew between the woman and the wild cat. So winter passed. The spring sun melted the snow, revealing the dark earth. The manul had noticeably grown stronger. He would often approach the door, sniffing the air, showing that he was drawn by the call of freedom. Grandmother Aigul understood. He needed to return to his natural life in the steppe. But worry gnawed at her. Rumors circulated in the village that poachers were becoming increasingly active in the area, setting traps and snares. She dreaded to think that Baikal might be in danger again. Then Grandmother Aigul decided to act. She journeyed to the nearest town and told the local authorities about the problem. The road was difficult. Spring streams had undermined the dirt tracks. But upon reaching her destination, she spoke firmly and resolutely, pointing out the threat to the rare animals. Soon, the authorities organized raids, apprehending several poachers and neutralizing the set traps. Learning of the results, Grandmother Aigul felt a wave of relief. Now Baikal had a chance to survive in his native expanses. One fine day, she went outside with the manul into the yard. He curiously examined the awakening nature, still tentatively, but now without fear. Then Grandmother Aigul opened the gate, and Baikal freely stepped into the grass, dissolving into the gentle sunlight. His departure was not a farewell, but a return home. Several weeks passed. Warm winds chased away the last of the night frosts, and flowers bloomed in the garden. Grandmother Aigul worried about Baikal's fate. Had he managed to catch his first prey after recovery? Had he hurt his paw on the stones? Had he fallen into any traps? Then one evening, as twilight enveloped the village, she noticed familiar round eyes on the porch, reflecting the moonlight. Before her stood the manul, softly meowing, as if greeting his rescuer. Grandmother Aigul's heart filled with joy. He had returned safe and sound. From then on, Baikal would periodically visit the house, appearing at dawn or before sunset. Grandmother Aigul always left something tasty for him. careful not to infringe upon his wild nature. He remained a guest, not a pet. A few neighbors once saw him slinking in the twilight along the hedges, but no one tried to chase him away or catch him. The village knew about the Manul, who was fortunate enough to find safe haven with grandmother Aigul. Gradually, people began to treat such animals with special consideration, remembering how easily they could perish from thoughtless human actions. Thus, a quiet legend was born, about a kind woman who saved a wild animal, and about the animal that responded with trust. People told each other how grandmother Aigul found Baikal in the frost, nursed him back to health, and then helped make the surroundings safer from poachers. In these stories, there was admiration and a call to compassion. After all, the steppe is a shared home for all living beings. Grandmother Aigul continued to live her usual life. In the morning, she brewed tea, then went out into the garden, where among the branches of cherry and apple trees, the first fruit buds shimmered. Children would come to her for advice, asking her to tell another unusual story. She would smile and repeat to them that every creature is part of a larger world, and if a person shows mercy, they can change the fate of even one living being for the better. And Baikal still roamed the vast steppes, following his instincts. He could silently slip through the grasses, hunt in the night, and at dawn, when the dew chilled his paws, come for a brief visit to grandmother Aigul's house. And then they would sit in silence. The woman on the porch, the Manul at her feet. Each felt peace in the other's presence. Eventually, the realization dawned that this story had become something more than just a friendship between a human and an animal. It showed that kindness can break down the boundaries of wildness, and compassion gives rise to extraordinary connections. Neighbors stopped being surprised by Baikal's nightly visits, and the news of his rescue became a reminder of how important it is to value and protect the life around us. On the threshold of a new summer, when the steppe grasses once again turned golden under the sun, grandmother Aigul often remembered how frightened she had been that blizzardy day, hearing a barely audible squeak behind her house. But her fear dissolved as soon as she took the frozen creature into her arms. In that silent cry, she felt deeply. Mercy is not just a word, but an action that can save a life. And now, looking at the moonlit path stretching across the steppe, she knew. Somewhere out there, the Manul named Baikal was moving on soft paws, free and yet connected to her by an invisible thread, woven of trust and gratitude. And so, the unusual story continued, quiet and majestic, like the steppe itself, eternal and renewed with each dawn. Baikal lived his own life, but never forgot the warm house where he was healed and nurtured, and grandmother Aigul, remembering him wounded and helpless, would smile at her thoughts, knowing that one act of compassion had given light not only to the animal, but to herself as well. Dear friends, if you have watched this story to the end, it means it has touched your heart and awakened a spark of kindness in your soul. Share this spark with the world and don't let it fade. Once, grandmother Aigul did not remain indifferent and saved a wounded Manul. In the same way, your attention and participation can save someone's thoughts, feelings, or even inspire an important action. To ensure that there are more such inspiring stories and good deeds, we ask you to take just 3 simple steps. Subscribe. Click the subscribe button so you don't miss new publications. Informative articles, heartwarming stories, and inspiring examples of human responsiveness. In the modern world, subscription is the first step towards a cohesive community of like-minded people. Imagine how much we can achieve if we unite our hearts and efforts for the sake of good deeds. Leave a comment. Share your opinion, impressions, or experiences related to nature protection and caring for our smaller brethren. Perhaps you have your own rescue story, or you know people who have committed a similar act. Tell us about it in the comments. Your words can inspire those who are still only looking for a reason to take the first step. Sometimes a short remark, warm support, or pleasant feedback changes someone's life. Don't be silent. Let your opinion be heard. Repost. Share this story on your social networks or share the link with friends and loved ones. Perhaps someone you know is currently looking for a reason to believe in kindness again and to start acting in support of animals or people in difficult situations. A couple of clicks, and an inspiring story will appear on a page that people trust. This way, even more people will learn that good deeds are always necessary and that each of us can contribute to their realization. Imagine how this story about the Manul Baikal and grandmother Aigul will begin to live in comments and reposts, growing with new details, emotions, and opinions. While someone is looking for an answer to the question of whether to help a wounded kitten or an animal caught in a trap, they will stumble upon your post and understand that good deeds can change not only the life of an animal, but also the fate of a person. After all, by saving others, we save something important within ourselves. When you press the share button or write a couple of warm lines in the comments, you are actually participating in creating a friendlier and more attentive environment. Together, we can turn a good impulse into a habitual practice, make ecology not a perfunctory word, but a true way of life, and expand the circle of people for whom meaningful support is something self-evident. We believe that our stories give you a reason to think about what is important, inspire you, and warm your soul. And your feedback is as important to us as it is vitally necessary for the Manul to roam freely across the boundless steppes. After all, communication is the same expanse, but for our thoughts, hopes, and plans. Don't remain mere observers. Join our community of like-minded people. This is precisely the environment where sincere emotions and real stories change destinies, where every subscription adds strength and motivation, and every repost carries a ray of warmth and support further and further, where comments turn dry text into a living dialogue in which opinions, questions, joy, and empathy are heard. Let's together create a space where stories about the miraculous rescue of animals and the heartfelt participation of people become not a rarity, but commonplace. Join, subscribe, comment, and share this narrative with friends, colleagues, and relatives. Let everyone know that even in the most difficult situation, there is room for kindness, and that the ability to empathize and cherish the world around us is still alive in people. So don't hesitate to take small but important steps here and now. Click subscribe and become part of a large team. Leave your opinion and stories in the comments. Share the link with friends and acquaintances to help them take a step towards realizing the common good. Your actions are our collective contribution to the preservation of nature, respect for its inhabitants, and the strengthening of faith in the better. Together, we can create a living field of goodness in which there will be a place for both the Manul and each of us. Let's hasten to unite our efforts so that there are even more beautiful stories, and the world becomes a little warmer and brighter.